Through you, Madam Mayor, our next question is in regards to Keysborough South Community Hub, and the question is from Megan Mack of Keysborough. It's great to see the Keysborough South Community Hub finally getting built, as it will strengthen community connection in this still relatively new part of Greater Dandenong. When will applications open for residents for a Keysborough South committee like the current Springvale Hub Committee, so residents can have meaningful input ongoing to help Council make Keysborough South Community Hub a success? Can I ask Executive Director Community Strengthening, Ms Gillies, to respond, please?
Through you, Madam Mayor. Many thanks, Megan, for your question. The development of a potential Keysborough South Community Hub Advisory Committee will be dependent on the feedback that we receive as part of the Strategic Plan and Action Plan consultation process. That process has actually recently concluded. We're just consolidating all of the information. And then once that's happened, we'll be putting recommendations to Council in the coming months. We'll be sure to keep the community updated on progress with that, as well as opportunities to be involved. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms Gillies. Our next question is from Elizabeth Grasso of Keysborough and concerns Open Space Acquisitions Reserve. What is the current balance of the Open Space Acquisitions Reserve? What is the balance of the Open Space Acquisitions Reserve post the 1st of July 2024, when, as per the endorsed Public Open Space Acquisition and Improvement Policy, it will be topped up from the Open Space Planning, Development and Improvements Reserve? Can I ask our Executive Director, City Futures, Mr Manavasa Gasavam, to respond, please?
Thank you, through you, Mayor. As of 1st of July 2024, the Open Space Acquisition Reserve currently has a balance of $6 million, and also it will be topped up if any purchases happen over the next 12 months.
Thank you. Our next question is from Isabel Nash of Keysborough, and it concerns 51A Douglas Street. She has two questions, so I'll read both of them and then we will respond. Question 1. One of the reasons for the officers not recommending the purchase of 51A Douglas Street, Noble Park, as open space was due to the number of sites north of the railway line. However, this site is south of the railway line, where the nearby streets have little green space. So why wasn't this taken into consideration? And question 2, one of the reasons given by officers not recommending for the purchase of 51A Douglas Street, Noble Park as open space was because of the purchase of the site in Frank Street. How is that relevant when we are talking about green space with trees, and Frank Street is a concreted civic plaza? Can I ask Mr Manavasa Gasavan to respond, please?
Through you, Mayor. It is important to note that the land at 51A Douglas Street is not for sale. And such, there is no option for Council to purchase the land, even if it was considered to appropriate to do so. In terms of second question, when assessing sites for open space, all existing areas of open space are included in the consideration, including urban spaces such as Frank Street, which is a type of an public open space as set out in the open space strategy.
Thank you. Our next question is from Gay Guest of Keysborough, and it concerns Planning Scheme Amendment C249 GDAN, minor amendments to the Heritage Overlay. Item 4.1 in tonight's agenda cannot be accepted until the wording is changed to reflect that Council does not own the Noble Park Public Hall and Paddy O'Donoghue Centre. The Noble Park Public Hall Trust, under deed, owns the land 18 to 34 Buckley Street, and Council manages the Paddy O'Donoghue Centre on behalf of the Noble Park Public Hall Trust, who have not been advised of the change in what Council is proposing. Ms Guest also included some other information to the same effect. The full wording of the comments will be included in tonight's minutes, and can I ask Mr Manavasa Gasavam to respond, please?
Thank you for your question. Through you, Mayor. It is noted that the site is owned by the Noble Park Hall Trust. However, ownership does not alter any consideration of the report later in tonight's agenda. This report only seeks to support to commence the formal planning scheme amendment process and to request authorization from the Minister of Planning to start this process. It does not seek approval of the proposed changes to the heritage overlay. If authorization is provided by the Minister, Council will formally notify all interested parties, including Noble Park Hall Trust. Council will then consider any submissions received before making any decision or whether to formally support the amendment.
Thank you. We have another question from Gay Guest of Keysborough, and it concerns the heritage study. Referring to the budget submissions response I have received when the Cultural and Heritage Advisory Committee were told in 2021-22 that the heritage study would be revised and reviewed. Strategy Action 3.5. We were told that the review of the current sites was stage 1 and it would be followed by a stage reviewing new sites. Meanwhile, our precious heritage buildings and infrastructure that have not been assessed are not protected by any local heritage overlay because they're not listed on Council's own heritage overlay register. Yet they are mentioned in local folklore stories, our own history books and council documents, so need to be assessed as soon as possible. This promise seems to have been broken. Who made the decision not to go ahead with stage 2 and when? Again, can I ask Mr Manavasagasavam to respond, please?
Through you, Mayor, Council has completed a review of the current sites listed on the Heritage Overlay in the Greater Dandenong Planning Scheme. This review has identified that 18 of the sites require a change to the heritage control based on the current on-site conditions. It is proposed to take a planning scheme amendment in 24-25 to make the required changes to the heritage overlay. A decision on whether to pursue this amendment will be made later in tonight's agenda. In terms of potentially adding additional sites to the heritage overlay, a decision has not been made on whether Council will undertake this work. Rather, that decision will be made following the completion of the currently proposed planning scheme amendment.
Thank you. Our next question is from Emily Sloan of Dandenong, and it concerns tree removal in Dandenong. As a Dandenong West resident, I'm concerned from what I'm hearing that 3 trees near the corner of Wilma Avenue and Hemming Street are planned to be removed. Compared to other streetscapes in Greater Dandenong that have few trees, the greenery of the redeveloped Hemming Street shopping strip has been a joy and should be preserved. Could you please validate whether these 3 trees are going to be removed or not? And can I ask Mr Manavasagasavam to respond, please?
Thank you for your question. Through you, Mayor, Council has scheduled pruning of 2 trees on the northeast and northwest side of the Wilma Avenue and Hemming Street intersection to provide visibility for pedestrians and vehicles. A single nature tree located in front of 21A Wilma Avenue has been scheduled for removal. If further information on the exact location is provided to Council, officers can investigate and provide further response.
Thank you. We have another question from Emily Sloan of Dandenong, and this one concerns Dandenong Community Hub. In the minutes of the last council meeting, I read that an additional co-design sessions for the Dandenong Community Hub are going ahead to finish the job that the co-design sessions in January and February this year started in finalising the concept design of the Dandenong Community Hub. However, the expected timing was not mentioned. Question 1, in what month of 2024 are the next co-design workshops taking place? And question 2, the concept design process was kicked off with council meeting decision in September 2020. Since then, there have been council votes on the site, the scope of features, and also that co-design will be used to finalise the concept design. However, the question, after almost 4 years has passed, is when exactly will the concept design be finalised, and we will move into the detailed design and construction phases. Can I ask Ms Gillies to respond, please?
Through you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Emily, for your question and also for having a look at the minutes from the last meeting. So as we mentioned there, we have now received feedback from the architects. They do require some further work from council before they can actually finalise those concept plans. For example, the broader precinct plan will inform vehicle and pedestrian management, and discussions are also underway regarding potential parking, noting that the co-design group have a preference around maximising the active play area. We didn't reference a date in that last meeting because at this stage we do not have a date, but as soon as we do, we'll provide that information. In terms of the detailed design process, obviously the concept designs need to be finalised first through that co-design process, and we would then move to detailed design off the back of a further decision from council. So that work is in motion. As soon as there's dates confirmed, we will let everybody know. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question is from Pam Naylor of Noble Park, and it concerns Tehatchawan Park. In March this year, in an answer to a public question at a council meeting, it was revealed that the draft plan for the sensory trail at Tehatchawan Park had now been completed and that the community consultation will occur prior to the end of this financial year. I've not seen any sign of the consultation starting to date. When is the draft consultation now expected to start? And can I ask Mr Manavasagasavam to respond, please?
Through you, Mayor, officers are undertaking additional internal consultation with Council's disability planners regarding the design of the proposed sensory elements to ensure the design can accommodate a diverse range of abilities. Once this is complete, it is intended to undertake community consultation following the upcoming Council election caretaker period.
Thank you. Pam Naylor has asked another question now concerning the Sustainability Advisory Committee. It's been 7 months since the Sustainability Advisory Committee term ended. When is the recruitment process for the new committee expected to start? Can I ask Mr Manavasagasavam to respond, please?
As advised at a previous council meeting, officers are currently reviewing the Sustainability Advisory Committee. It is intended that further council consideration will be given to the committee following the upcoming council elections.
And our third question from Pam Naylor is about climate emergency strategy. I was one of the members of the public who submitted to the budget process asking for more staff and project funding to catch up on the implementation of our endorsed climate change, sustainability and environmental strategies and plans. The community feedback response was that in the last year, the shortfall of completed actions in the climate emergency strategy and action plan is not as bad. When can I expect there will be a public progress report on the climate emergency strategy and action plan so I can read what has been completed and, importantly, in what way? There's been no such report in 4 years, but now the resourcing issues have apparently been fixed. I would expect that a progress report could be imminent. Am I correct? Can I ask Mr Manavasagasavam to respond, please?
Through you, Mayor, as advised at the 25th March 2024 Council meeting, Council is currently looking at options to streamline the actions within the various sustainability and environmental strategies to assist in improving reporting capabilities. Due to the level of detail, this is a complex process that will be completed by end of the calendar year. Council appreciates the community patience with this and will be able to provide further timeframes regarding future reporting following the completion of this work.
Thank you. Our next question is from Philip Lamaro of Dandenong and concerns project updates. Can Council please give an update on the progress and an estimated time for the completion date on both the Vanity Lane and the New Art Gallery in Dandenong projects? Again, can I ask Mr Manavasagasavam to respond, please?
The Vanity Lane project has been delayed due to the issues associated with the proposed demolition of the existing fire-damaged building. Timing for demolition and future construction of the laneway is currently under review. We can provide further updates once the review is completed in coming months. And also similar to the Dandenong New Arts projects, the project is under review and Council will provide further timing once it's all completed.
Thank you. Philip Lamaro has asked another question, and this concerns Cheltenham Road, Keysborough. In the past few weeks, I've noticed that on Friday afternoons, approximately 30 to 50 cars are illegally parked on the footpath on Cheltenham Road around the Keysborough Turkish Centre. These cars are parking on the footpath, blocking pedestrians from using the footpath and making people walk in the drain to get around them. Could Council please start policing this area and issuing fines to offenders that are risking pedestrian safety? Can I ask Ms Gillies to respond, please?
Through you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Philip, for your question. Thank you for bringing this matter to our attention. Our compliance team will monitor and undertake enforcement activities as appropriate. As always, I just would like to remind if if community members are seeing issues, please report through SnapSend Solve. There's certainly no need to wait till a meeting. The sooner we get the information, the sooner we can follow it up. Thank you.
Thank you. And Philip Lamaro's last question concerns LGBTIQA+ morning tea. Council is hosting a morning tea on Saturday for the LGBTIQA+ community. Can I please ask if councillors have been invited to this event and if any councillor has accepted their invite to attend? Can I ask our Executive Manager, Strategic Growth and Advocacy, Marjan Hajari, to respond, please?
Through you, Mayor, and thank you for the question, Philip. The Pride Month morning tea event is for rainbow communities to come together in celebration and provide members an opportunity to have input in the development of the new council plan. And here, guest speaker Ian Sale from Many Coloured Sky. This informal public event has been widely promoted on council website and social media, and councillors are welcome to attend if they are available. Thank you.
Thank you. And our next question is from Matthew Kerwin of Noble Park, and it concerns Buckley Street, Noble Park. Can Council please do traffic speed tests along Buckley Street between Noble Street and Wall Street, Noble Park? The 50 km/h speed limit is often not being observed, which is a safety issue in this area, as it's used by those dropping off and picking up children from Noble Park Primary School, as well as being an area of high pedestrian traffic. Can Council consider making the stretch between Noble Street and Wall Street a 40-kilometre area, as it's such a school drop-off pick-up area as further down Buckley Street? If Council do not think this area is suitable for this purpose, more no standing signs are required. Can I ask Mr Manavasagasavam to respond, please?
This section of Buckley Street should have 40 km/h speed limit in place. Our officers have inspected the site today and identified a missing 40 km sign for southbound traffic, just south of Noble Street, and we will have this replaced as soon as possible. In addition to that, we will also collect new traffic data to identify any further speeding issues.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms Weatherall. Item 4, Officers' Reports, Part 2, 4.1 Finance and Budget, 4.1.1 Adoption of the 2024 to 2025 Budget. Could I get a mover, please? Sorry, can I please move this to Mr Foley, please? Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. The officer would like to propose a change to the resolution in the papers on page 118, part 2.7 of the resolution. The officer is proposing that we delete the inclusion inside the brackets of the or replacement of a damaged 360 litre bin and leave it as presented on the screen there for the councillors. We will explore other options going forward.
Great, thank you, Mr Foley. Can I get a mover, please?
I'll move.
Councillor Long, can I get a seconder? Councillor Garrard, are there any questions?
I do have a question, Mayor.
Yes, Councillor Tan.
Thank you, Mayor. Question to the relevant officer, just regarding to, okay, so this one on page 128 out of 530. Regarding to the Dandenong Wellbeing Centre, as we know that we've got the funding from federal government. So on here, just saying that we only get grant funding for 7.11 million, so instead of 20. Just want to get a clarification on these. Thanks.
Thanks, Councillor Tam. We'll just give Mr Foley a moment to have a look at that and respond.
Sorry, through you, Mayor. Could I just confirm, Councillor Tam, what page are you referring to in the budget document?
It's 128 out of 530, so 128.
Thank you.
So the grant funding only 7.11 million.
I can take that as phasing. It's phasing. So through you, Mayor, that's purely the grant funding expected or to be received within the next 12 months during the budget period. It doesn't reflect the entire grant funding expected to be for the project over its life, which is still $20 million.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Does that clarify? Thank you, Councillor Garrard.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. Whilst it is pleasing to see projected budget surplus of 34 million, an increase from 20 million in 23-24, how does the council plan to maintain the surplus in the face of rising debt levels, which are expected to more than double from 47 million to 105 million in June 2027?
Mr Foley, if you could respond, please.
Thank you, Councillor, and through you, Mayor. So the 34.812 million is essentially an accounting surplus on the operating statement for the organisation. If you refer to the statement of cash flows, you'll note that there is a forecast for the 24-25 budget of a balanced budget of zero cash flow and forecast going forward of nil cash surplus. In terms of debt funding going forward, I should probably flag that in terms of how we set our budget going forward, with the assumptions being made that future debt is funded out of a reduction in capital works, not out of reduction in operating expenses.
Thank you, Mr Foley. Any further questions? No? Yep. Any opposition?
Indicate opposition, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Milkovich. Councillor Tan as the mover. Councillor Long as the mover. Could you please speak to this item? You have 4 minutes.
I move an amendment that we keep the charge of $115 for the residents who want to upgrade their recycle bin from 240 litres to 360 litres, but delete the recommendation for residents who already have a 360 litre recycle bin to pay $115 for the replacement of that bin if it's been damaged or stolen. About 10 years ago, residents were encouraged to purchase a 360 litre recycle bin, so the residents would recycle more and less would go into landfill. By putting a charge on the replacement of the 360 litre recycle bin is discrimination, because if you have a 240 litre recycle bin...
Mayor, sorry, point of order quickly.
Thank you. Take a seat, please, Councillor Long.
Pardon?
Councillor Milkovich.
Sorry, we were voting on the...
opposition to this.
No.
Could the-
The budget,
I'm
yeah.
sorry, I thought you
That's
meant...
all. No, sorry, I just thought where we're going there.
Yeah, sorry.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Can you continue, please?
I moved the whole budget. So I thought they were...
No, this is for the
No,
entire
no,
budget,
I
so will
just-
you speak to
yeah.
the item? Okay, Councillor Milkovich, please, in opposition. 4 minutes. Sorry, seconder. Councillor Garrard's the seconder. Sorry.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I commend this budget. As I stated, there is a projected budget, a very pleasing projected budget of around $34 million, which is around $14 million in excess of the previous year, which is very financially responsible. The council has continued the level of service despite an increased budget surplus, and it has accounted for the very ambitious capital budget we've had in building new buildings and continue to offer the high level of services that we do offer. So I congratulate the council and the councillors for the hard work they have done in putting this budget together in these very tight fiscal times. We know that with the cap on rates and with the twin threats of cap on rates and the inflation, that it is increasingly difficult to deliver the same level of service with essentially less money. However, with the hard work of the financial officers and a lot of negotiation with the councillors, we have struck a good balance in being able to continue to offer those services and keep the council in a very strong financial position. So I commend all involved, and I'm very pleased with the outcome.
Thank you, Councillor Garrard. Councillor Milkovich, in opposition. You have 4
Thank you,
minutes.
Mayor.
Thank you.
While the budget might be responsible, it is anything but compassionate, Madam Mayor, because our residents, many of whom I'm speaking to on a daily basis through my current employment, are struggling. And to have a budget that only adds fees and charges to every single possible and known council service is not compassionate. It might be responsible, but it's not compassionate in any way, shape or form. So I would like to remind our fellow councillors and the officers and everyone else involved that we do need to be and stand with our community as well. Many of them who are taking a second or third job to get by in these tough times. When the state government is increasing taxes every single year on different basis points, when we've got price rises, when we've got expenses due to the normal cost of livings, I think us as a council, with $200 million budget collected from our residents, which they're paying for, I think we need to and should show just a little bit more compassion and try and either keep the rates as they were before or try to lower them in some instances. So yes, the budget might have struck it as responsible, but it is not compassionate. And I think in this time of need, what our residents need is just a little bit more compassion and try and ease the burden of the current cost of living through any means possible. So this budget is definitely balanced maybe, but not compassionate in any way, shape or form. And it might be fiscally responsible for the council and the officers and us, but our residents are paying more on every corner for every service. And for those reasons, I will be opposing the budget. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Milkovich. Anyone else that would like to speak for or against this? Yes, Councillor Riley.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, I've taken Councillor Milkovich's comments on board. And I think I can speak for all councillors when we say that we do empathise with those that are doing it tough in the community, Mayor. And there's no doubt that at this time there are many that are doing it. However, the rate cap means that council is collecting less money than our costs are increasing by. So that would mean for Councillor Milkovich's actual railing against fees and charges to happen, Councillor Milkovich should have suggested something to services to cut or some other income replacement in order for us to actually enact what he's talking about. And to date, I have not heard any such proposal from Councillor Milkovich or any other. So we're trying to do things as responsibly as possible. This council has a financial hardship policy for residents that are finding it hard to pay their rates. Any real reduction in fees and charges and rates will mean we'll need to cut services, which, fair enough if we do that, but let's have some actual specific ideas rather than platitudes. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Riley. Anyone else that would like to speak to this item?
I do, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Tan. You just snuck in.
Thank you. Just want to echo Councillor Sean O'Reilly just regarding to the hardship program that council is offering at the moment. We know that a lot of residents doing it tough due to the cost of living. So just through to you, Mayor, through the relevant officer too, can we touch on this section as well? So in terms of informing our resident how to apply and how much does it cost, used to be $500 a one-off per application. So what is our current hardship at the moment and what criteria would they need? So can we just, be out there and inform our resident how to apply for that as well? That would be great. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Tan. We'll ask Mr Foley to respond, please. I believe it's a hardship question.
Thank you, Councillor Tan, and through you, Mayor. Councillor Tan's correct. The policy still is at $500 and the community member can apply online. and it comes through our internal processes for review. Ultimately, it comes through to me for a final decision.
Thank you, Mr Foley. Any further questions, Councillor Tan? No. Councillor Dark.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, I rise to support Councillor Milkovich in his opposition to this budget, and there's a standing principle that I've always had in my time in this council. When it works and a budget is put forward that hurts the residents of our municipality, I certainly won't support it. And this budget is no different year on year on year. No matter which way you polish it, no matter which way you want to present it, no matter which way you want to put in glossy material and send it out, the fact is that any rate increase hurts our residents and it hurts our community. We have at the moment a substantial rate crisis, a rent crisis with people in accommodation. And the fact is, with an increase in council rates, landlords have no other choice but to put that cost onto tenants. It is an inabsorbable cost that landlords can't have. So when the rates go up, they pass on to the tenants. It's the same thing in commercial industrial, in the world of commercial industrial properties as well, is that council rates are a recoverable outgoing from tenants. And tenants at the moment we see are struggling. And to say that council has a hardship policy and we assess things how they are, well, we need to look at the raw numbers to see exactly where things are sitting. The fact is that our arrears position in this council is getting higher and higher and higher. And that is a key sign that our residents are struggling to make the payments on their council rates. And what I cannot and what I will not support, given the issues that we're consistently seeing with the organisation, the efficiency that Councillor O'Reilly mentions about what projects there are, look, I think we could easily do with an external review from an auditing company to look at the efficiencies that can be done. And I think that there's many different cost savings that this council can have. But I think that those sort of things need to be worked out appropriately first and foremost. But what we cannot do at the moment, in the current climate with the rise of cost of living, when people's wages are not keeping up with the rise of the cost of fuel, the cost of electricity. At the moment, we are seeing people struggling with the cost of electricity and energy bills in their home. We've got residents reaching out to myself. I've got people struggling to find accommodation, be able to afford the bills, and then to find that we're going to then slug them with a 2.75% increase in council rates is a substantial hit to them. And I didn't join this council to hurt my residents. I didn't join this council to deliver these sort of things. I ran for council to deliver the best for the residents, ensuring they get the best outcome possible. And this budget does not deliver that outcomes. This budget should be considerably better. There should be proper reviews. We have a new executive team in place who have come into new roles with mergers of departments to look at cost-saving measures, to look at efficiency reviews, to look at being able to deliver projects. And nothing, so far from what I can see within the budget, has appropriately been done. There's been a standard increase in every budget line item that's been put forward. You would almost imagine that every single budget item was passed and that they expensed every single item. And this sort of thing is something that consistently happens in this council. And as I said, I cannot possibly support in good conscience something that will hurt our residents, and that's why I won't be supporting the budget tonight.
Thank you, Councillor Dark. Any further speakers to this item, for or against? Councillor Long, your right of reply.
Thank you. We are trying hard to bring the budget that is fair on all our residents. Our residents are facing hardship, and hardship policies are there, which is a program which they can apply for. And it was explained just before how they can apply. Councillor Dark said that people who are renting are doing it tough, but even some people who own their property are struggling as well. But we are here to support them, but not only that, the services. If we cut all our rates, what services do we give up? We supply a lot of services to our residents at a reasonable price. If they had to pay full price for this service, they would not be able to afford it, and they'd be going backwards. I urge everyone to pass this budget.
Thank you, Councillor Long. Could we just have a show of hands, all those in favour of the motion, please? Councillor O'Reilly, Councillor Dan, Councillor Trong, Councillor Deputy Mayor Lim, Councillor Tan, Councillor Long, Councillor Garrard, Councillor Formoso, All those against? Councillor Dark and Councillor Milkovich. The item is carried. Thank you.
I'd like to thank my fellow councillors for passing this budget.
Yep. Item 4.1.2, adoption of the LTFP 2025 to 2034. Can I get a mover, please? Councillor Garrard. Seconder, please. Thank you. Councillor O'Reilly. Are there any questions? Councillor Garrard.
Thank you. What specific measures have been taken to ensure the alignment of the long-term financial plan with the Council's overall strategic objectives? And how does the Council plan to address the challenges posed by rate capping on financial sustainability and service delivery?
Thank you. Mr Foley, if you could respond, please.
Thank you for your question, Councillor Garrard, and through you, Mayor. The long-term financial plan is not a static document, and it's reviewed annually to ensure it remains aligned with any updates or changes in the Council's strategic direction. Excuse me. This review allows for adjustments to be made to financial strategies and resource allocations as needed. Regarding the challenges posed by rate capping on financial sustainability and service delivery, there's a few things that we can do as Council and will continue to do. Council will continue to focus on improving operational efficiency to mitigate the impact of rate capping. As an example, this may involve investing in things like technology to streamline some of our processes. We will also continue to explore revenue optimisation, exploring other revenue sources beyond just rates and user fees, and exploring grants and partnerships with other organisations. Council may recall that a revenue optimisation review was completed during the year and presented to Council for consideration. From a long-term financial planning perspective, Council takes a prudent approach to long-term financial planning, and this includes managing and prioritising our capital and managing our debt responsibly. We can also advocate and continue engagement through efforts with state and federal governments for more and flexible funding arrangements. I guess in summary, Council will continue to review and assess our current and future performance of our services, and if there are alternatives to more efficiently deliver them, then we'll explore those. Our own source income options continue to be examined as opportunities that have potential to support the ongoing financial sustainability in Council.
Thank you, Mr Foley. Councillor Garrard.
Mayor, just a second question, just regarding some of the underlying assumptions underpinning the long-term financial plan. We know, for example, that climate disruption will severely impact a great deal of the Council's assets and services. Has that been built in? Is it an underlying assumption within the financial projections? And what are the other key assumptions strengthening your projections going forward?
Mr Foley, if you could respond, please.
Thank you, Councillor Garrard, and through you, Mayor. So the potential impacts of climate change on Council assets are part of, or one of many considerations that we take in establishing that forward program, both new and renewed assets. In fact, in setting the forward program, there's essentially an in-principle strategy of prioritising funds to meet asset renewal and maintenance requirements of any sort of new and other recurrent capital. And I draw Council's attention to the long-term financial plan, where you will see that there is, over time, an emphasis on prioritising that expenditure over any other sort of new capital expenditure going forward. Sorry, I missed, what was the second part of the question, Councillor? So there's a number of other underpinning assumptions going forward in the long-term financial plan that are outlined in there around what we consider to be going forward are things like inflation, so we've taken that into account, what we expect to happen with interest rates, taking that into account, things like wage rises, etc., that are all accounted for. So we try to set that plan up to be as resilient as possible. It's impossible to forecast the future, and which is hence why we come back to Council every year with new information.
Thank you, Mr Foley. Any further questions? Is there any opposition? The item is carried. Item 4.2, Policy and Strategy, 4.2.1, Planning Scheme Amendment C249, GDAN, minor amendments to the Heritage Overlay. Can I get a mover, please? Councillor Garrard. Seconder. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Lim. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition? The item is carried. Item 4.2.2, Council Plan 2021 to 2025, Revised 2024, and Annual Plan 2024 to 2025. Can I get a mover, please?
Happy to move it, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Tan. Can I get a seconder, please? Councillor Garrard. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition? The item is carried. Can I just remind councillors that when they are moving or seconding items to please raise their hand and also acknowledge through their microphones? That'd be great. Thank you.
Madam Mayor.
Yes, Councillor Garrard.
I'd just like to take this opportunity to congratulate the officers that have put a considerable amount of work into this council plan and the extraordinary level of consultation that has taken place underpinning this council plan and making sure it reflects accurately the needs of our community and the voice of our community is included. So I just want to congratulate the appropriate officer.
Thank you. Item 4.3, Other. 4.3.1, Ward Boundary Review 2024, Victorian Electoral Commission Final Report. Can I get a mover, please? Councillor O'Reilly. Thank you, Councillor O'Reilly. Nice loud voice. Seconder. Thank you, Councillor Lim. Deputy Lim. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition? The item is carried. Thank you. Councillor Garrard.
Mayor, I want to take this opportunity to thank the Australian Electoral Commission for listening to the many people that made submissions in relation to the ward boundaries. On my own ward, I think there were 12 submissions made, including in-person submissions by myself and many others. And I congratulate the AEC for listening and for making the appropriate decision and not dividing the Green Wedge from its current residential component and joining it with the industrial zone, which is certainly in the interests of the Green Wedge and is certainly responsive to the needs of residents in that area.
Thanks. That's the one. Yep. Thank you. Item 4.3.2, Microsoft Enterprise Agreement Renewal. Can I get a mover, please? Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Councillor O'Reilly. Can I get a seconder, please? Seconder? Thank you, Councillor Deputy Lim. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition? The item is carried. Thank you. Item 4.3.3, Report on matters discussed at council briefing sessions and pre-council meetings. Can I get a mover, please? Thank you, Deputy Mayor Lim. Seconder, please.
Happy to second.
Thank you, Councillor Milkovich. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition? The item is carried. Item 4.3.4, List of registered correspondence to Mayor and Councillors. Can I get a mover, please?
I'll move.
Thank you, Councillor Long. Thank you, Councillor Trong. As a seconder, are there any questions?
Just a quick question.
Yes, Councillor Milkovich.
Thank you, Here. Thank you, Mayor. Just a question to relevant officer regarding a letter from the Honourable Melissa Horne MP in response to the proposal to include mandatory working with children check as part of eligibility for candidates to stand for elections as councillors. Can we find out the outcome of that, please? Thank you. The response.
Ms Gillies, if you could respond, please. We've got that letter on file.
Through you, Madam Mayor, in the correspondence, Councillor Milkovich, the response is essentially that it's not a mandatory requirement at this stage, but they will continue to look into it as part of ongoing councillor nominations and processes. So at this stage it hasn't gone any further, but the response does include that communication.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions? Any opposition? The item is carried. Thank you. Item 5, notices of motion. 5.1, notice of motion number 37, re-evaluation of meeting space allocation for Springvale District's Football Netball Club. Could I get a mover, please?
Moved.
Thank you,
Mayor.
Councillor O'Reilly. And a seconder, please.
Yep. Oh.
Thank you, Councillor Dark. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition? The item is carried. Councillor O'Reilly.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you to councillors for your support on the motion. The Springvale District's Football Netball Club are the heart and soul of our community, bringing people together with footy and netball. But, Mayor, this club has become a victim of its own success. Due to the club's growth, the club is required to hire the large function room on site. And that means that every home game, club volunteers are required to set up and pack up the function room. Every home game, set up, pack up. Next home game, set up, pack up. Next home game, set up, pack up. And these are volunteers, Mayor. It's like they're stuck in a never-ending pre-season. It's time that council considers getting them off that treadmill and giving them the space that the club needs. And Mayor, I also acknowledge Greg, Deb and Kat from the club in the public gallery tonight. Mayor, I'm happy that council will consider giving our local legends at the Springvale District's Football Netball Club the space they need to keep kicking goals and shooting hoops and ensuring that our community continues to thrive. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor O'Reilly. Any further comments? Yes, Deputy Mayor Lim.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. To me, I'm very passionate, honestly, to Springvale Football Club and also Netball Club. It's a club that very, very great one and also grow very fast, like Councillor O'Reilly talking about, and I have a close contact with the president and the committee member as well. Hopefully in the near future, our council can provide the whole reserve to Springvale Football Club and also Netball Club because it's grown very fast. The whole point that I would like our council to provide that sort of club, the whole reserve, because of multicultural community need desperately. They need to use that facility. They love to come together. Why we let these young kids addict to screen, you know? The screen, that's the worst one at the moment that I raised on my social media. I already raised this sort of issue in multicultural community on a regular basis. Therefore, if we can afford in the future, please give the club the whole Springvale Reserve to Springvale Football Club and Netball Club. Thanks for that.
Thank you. Councillor Dark.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, I just wish to echo the sentiment of what Councillor O'Reilly touched on as well. And a Springvale Football Club is something that I've had a significant interest in, particularly over the time that I've been elected to this council. A lot of my residents in the Keysborough would actually play for Springvale, and it's actually become one of the largest clubs, if not the largest, in the Southern Football League. And that goes to say something, given that it goes all the way up towards Port Melbourne, all the way out. the club has gone through significant growth, as they've mentioned, over the last few years, with the rollout of multiple women's teams in the netball, the rollout of a significant amount of juniors as well, and also the competition games of the rivalries that they have, playing the Dingley Dingoes and other clubs as well. The turnout at the grounds is absolutely phenomenal. Certainly one of the biggest issues is the fact that they do not have sufficient infrastructure, and Springvale is one of the more prominent ones. They had significant issues when their toilets were being upgraded, and the delays that took ended up having one of the most abhorrent setups of villages of portable toilets I've seen in my entire life, with showers in the mud. But they were very, very grateful to get state-of-the-art facilities coming through. And it's one thing, I suppose, of not just the Springvale Football Club, but many other community groups and clubs in the municipality that are struggling to have the appropriate amount of growth and the right facilities in place. And I know it certainly places a challenge for a council that has ageing infrastructure that's in the older style, unlike people in the city of Casey and Cardinia who have brand new infrastructure with the new estates. But Springvale Football Club certainly running, when you have teams in the netball, I think down to K or J at the moment, and the way that they are extremely competitive. All their functions are very well attended. Their fundraisers are very much the same, and the community that they do give back is significant. So hopefully this report will come back shortly positive for the Springvale Football Club, and also give them the ability as well to expand, because I certainly do know that they have been ramping up with looking at increase in the female football clubs as well, the female football teams. So hopefully it could be something that could provide it as a larger facility for growth. So thank you once again to my colleagues, and thank you to Councillor O'Reilly for the motion.
Thank you. Item 6, reports from councillors, delegated members and councillor questions. I'll start with you, Councillor Milkovich.
Nothing for tonight, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Dark.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, the first question I've got, I've had a couple of calls from a couple of residents on Kingsclear Avenue, just near Parkmore Shopping Centre. Parkmore Shopping Centre has installed some op-shop bins to the side of where the Kmart is, just near the Hungry Jacks, and there's been a significant amount of rubbish being dumped, along with a lot of movements at night, people going through the op-shop bins, causing a lot of mess in the complex. The residents had raised it with Parkmore Centre Management and were basically told, talk to the council, and they've subsequently from that called me. I just want to find out from the relevant officer, one, I believe we have received, and I've got a couple of merit numbers, if we could find out where we're up to with that.
Yeah, we will ask Mr Manivasa Gasavam to respond, but if I could on that note, actually you've reminded me as well, Councillor Dark, the same thing is happening in Dandenong Square near the RSL Club, so it's looking really untidy, so I think this could be relevant to both, so thank you.
Yeah, thank you for your question, Councillor Dark. Definitely we'll follow that up. I need to check that with my team to see what's happening, and we'll happy to work with the Parkmore Shopping Centre as well.
Yeah, thank you.
And Dandenong Square, please. Thank you. Councillor Dark.
Thank you, Mayor. My next question, I've had a couple of calls as well from a resident in Trevor Court, although it's not like on my ward. They've had issues with the lighting in the court. The bowl of the court has lighting right at the end, and there's lighting at the Corrigan Road end, but in the middle there's a dark patch. And it's very difficult for some people to see, particularly later at night, and a vehicle was sideswiped by another person in the court as well. Just to do with the depth. If we could please, I've got the residents' details which I'll fall through. If we could please have a look at the light in the court to see whether potentially we need another light in the middle, that would be great.
You're happy to take that on notice.
Thanks, Ms Weatherall.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, my next question is regarding the car parking allocations on Church Road between Clarendon Drive and Chandler Road. I know this has been raised in the past, I think, by Councillor Garrard, to do with the allocation, and council, it's one lane in each way in terms of the flow of traffic. On the left-hand side, if you're heading towards Perry Road, there has been allocation of some car parks that have been spray painted on the road that limits the traffic down to one lane. During peak hour traffic, between the hours of 3 and 6 o'clock, and during other hours as well, when the Serbian Orthodox Church has got events or functions on, the traffic has become very, very difficult, heavily congested, and hard for vehicles to get around. If we could please just have a look and just see, one, what the reason behind that was, and two, where that's going, that would be great. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Dark. I've taken note of that as well.
Thanks, Ms Weatherall. Thank you so much, Councillor Dark. Councillor Garrard.
Thank you. It is unfortunate at the moment that we're seeing overseas unprecedented temperatures of around 52 degrees, and consequently we are seeing thousands of deaths, heat-related deaths as a consequence, and a lot of these deaths have occurred in public spaces. In preparation for the heat that we obviously will experience in the next summer months, Harmony Square itself has no water fountain available for the public. Will the council consider placing a water fountain in there, which is where residents are able to refill their bottles, and also do an audit on the existing fountains, particularly in the public spaces, to ensure they're in working order, and also that water bottles can be filled from those fountains?
Thank you. We'll ask Mr. Manivasa Gasavan to respond, please.
Thank you, Councillor Garrett. Definitely we'll do an audit and then see all our fountains are working. At the Harmony Square, we already have one fountain there. In addition to that, there are several nearby drinking fountains along Lonsdale Street, and Harmony Square cafes have access to water. So we'll definitely do the audits and see how they're working.
There's no fountain.
Thank you. Councillor Garrett?
Yeah, I think there are a couple of inaccuracies. I'll chat to you about that later on. Just in the 4 years that I have been a councillor in the Keysborough South Ward, just one moment. It has been a great mystery to me why the residents pay a levy that no other resident in Dandenong pays. So the residents in the Dandenong ward pay roughly $1 a day, $360 a year on top of their rates. And this is apparently for the 15% extra open space that they have. So this is a user service fee that no one else in the municipality pays. It is a mystery to me still, after 4 years of inquiries, as to why this levy exists, what the mechanism of this is, where is the foundational document that supports this levy, who are the contractual partners, is it the council that holds and administers the funds, or could be anyone that holds and administers those funds. The fund is currently at around 1.8 million, but given that almost 1,000 dwellings have come online in the 4 years since I have been a councillor, there has been no expansion of that 1.8 million, and no one seems to know why, and no one seems to know what that money pays for. Is it 3 staff? What do those staff do? It is also for capital upgrades. What were those capital upgrades? No one seems to know. No one seems to understand the legal mechanism that supports this levy. All we know is that when people buy a house in their Section 32, they agree to pay this levy. What my questions are, what is the foundation of this levy? How is it legal? Who are the parties that are part of this legal agreement? Can this levy be abolished? If this levy was abolished, what would disappear? Could this levy be minimised? We have been told that this levy is going to have to be increased, and that in fact it could be increased by CPI every year. Up to this point it hasn't, but we know that by 2028 it's going to be in deficit. But we don't understand why. We don't understand why that's in deficit. We don't understand why it's not expanding with the extra 1,000 residents who've come into the ward. We don't understand who actually pays it and who doesn't pay it. We don't understand why those residents are paying it when every member of this municipality can go to those parks, use those gardens, and yet only these residents pay this levy. None of this do I understand. And in the 4 years that the question after question after question that I have asked, to this day I still don't understand. So my question is all of that, and will the council consider developing a report, a comprehensive report, which clearly outlines all the foundational documents and legal agreements, and outlining what that money is actually paying for, if it can be abolished, if it was abolished, what would go, and do the residents have a choice of actually administering that levy themselves? So I would greatly appreciate it if the council would develop a comprehensive report and provide, finally, before the term is up, enlightenment about what this levy is all about.
Thank you, Councillor Garrett. I've taken a note. There's an extensive number of questions that you've asked there, and the staff team, it will take us quite a bit of time to pull all that information together, and then we will brief council about it.
Thank you. Just my other question is regarding Douglas Street, 51A Douglas Street. Have we got an update on the negotiations around the tree that the community are so desperate to save?
Mr. Manivasa Gasavan, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. We are still in the process of negotiation. We haven't reached any decision on that yet. No.
Thank you. Councillor Long.
These are some of the events that I've attended since my last formal meeting. 15th of June, I attended the lunch and soccer match between Dandenong City and Melbourne Knights. Melbourne Knights 1-5-2. 16th of June, as President of Road Safe South East, I hosted a motorcycle first aid course here at the Dandenong Civic Centre. We had 41 motorcyclists attend the course, and a highway motorcycle police officer attended and spoke about the safety of riding motorbikes on the road. It was an all-day event sponsored by the Department of Transport. On the 22nd of June, I attended the soccer match between Dandenong City and Dandenong Thunder. Thunder won 1-0. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Tan.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, so over the weekend I had a great opportunity to attend with yourself and the Councillor Dan, and also Deputy Mayor Lim at the City of Great Dandenong Refugee Week. So this year theme, we're celebrating the Finding Freedom family. So as the refugee welcome zone, and we are the most multicultural in Australia, so we are here to celebrate the refugee, which is mainly offer all the services to them, and also celebrating our diversity. So it was a great opportunity to meet a lot of refugee who's been arrived recently, and they went through tough times. So great to see and meet those residents as well. My question for tonight, Mayor, just regarding, as you all know, that we went through a lot recently, mainly youth crimes gone up in our local areas. You can see on the news recently in different suburbs around Greater Dandenong. So through you, Mayor, through the relevant officer, I know we do have a community safety advisory committee as well. So what is our position in terms of the youth crime? What is our responsibility that we can help to reduce this crime? Are we working with police? So what are the strategy? Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Tan. We'll ask Ms Gillies to respond, please.
Through you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Tan, for your question. Certainly, we put a lot of emphasis on community safety and working with VicPol, and even more so, we're working very closely with community groups, with our view being very much that it needs to be an all-of-community approach. Certainly, while it's no consolation, crime statistics across the state are significantly increased. And unfortunately, there's obviously part of that within our municipality as well. We've just drafted, or final stages of drafting, our revised Community Safety Action Plan, which talks to a revised strategy that we've developed with VicPol and other local community groups to work out how we can best approach community safety, both community safety actual and perceptions of community safety, because we now have some data around that as well. So that piece of work will be coming to councillors in the near future. We're just finalising it at the moment, but please be assured we work very closely with VicPol. Ultimately, they've got responsibility in terms of community safety, apprehending offenders, those sorts of things. And I know they work really hard at that. And we work very closely with them in terms of our CCTV program, of which we've got the most cameras, and we're looking to get more in the state. So we want to make sure that they're really assisting in our attempts at improving community safety also.
Thanks, Ms Gillies. Councillor Tan.
Thank you, Ms. Gilly. My second question, just regarding to the Sandown Racecourse, the planning scheme. So submission need to be completed by, is it this week or the 29th? I can't remember. So how are we going with getting all the submission from the residents?
Thank you, Councillor Tan. We'll ask Mr Manivasa Gasavan to respond, please.
Yes. So it's closes today. It's 24th of June. It's closed today. Council has submitted its submission as per the council meeting, and any residents, that's up to them to submit that directly to the authorities.
Thank you, Councillor Tan.
And then, so what's the next process regarding this submission? So when are we going to hear back from the process, the minister or the panel?
Yes, there is a hearing panel will happen in August. I can't remember the exact date, but yes, some stage in August there would be a public hearing on all those submissions.
Thank you, Mr Manivasa.
Thank you. That's all from me. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Tan. Deputy Mayor, Councillor Lim, please.
Thank you, Mayor. The last fortnight, I had a very busy fortnight. On the Monday, the 10th of June, night time, I had a chance to meet Mr. John Malahi, MP of Glen Waverley. He's a good friend of mine, and also a few other committee members. We discussed mainly about how to help Mother Children Hospital. Actually, our government at least put a bit of work and effort, and also gave me some idea they're going to give to Mother Children, $535 million to renovate Mother Children and Monash Managed Medical Center. That's a great one. And that night we had a good discussion about climate change, about climate emergency, about liquid gas, all those sort of things. That's a great one. We're going to submit to Canberra, protesting or a motion, whatever. Just good for Rhonda, to make you happy, Rhonda. And secondly, on Tuesday the 11th, we had a good chance at our council. We have Councillor O'Reilly, Councillor Long, Mayor and myself, with the young leader to meet us and to greet them. And also we had a chance to answer a lot of questions. They asked us a lot of questions, those young ambassadors. I advise them a lot, and we're going to catch up with them as well. If they want to be a councillor, they can look at Victorian local government handbook. That is myself in there as well. And I met them last night as well, one of the young leaders. And also on the Wednesday, the 12th of June, I had a chance to become represent the mayor, actually, to give Australian citizen about nearly 400 Australian that receive a new Australian citizen in 2 sessions. Thank you so much for giving me a chance and have a good chat, a good wishes for them to become someone if they dream to be. On Thursday, the 13th of June, I already have another chance to what we call the launch of Scanlon Foundation Research Institute. The title is Strong Community Don't Just Happen. Springvale Story Narrative Launch hosted by the Institute is a great one. Why Springvale very strong and resilient? That's a great one. If you have a chance, you can look at the handbook there. They spent a year or two, and myself, one of them in that book. And also on a Friday the 14th, we have some sort of game change in our civic center here. That's a very good one. We have 2 or 3 organizations that give a great, idea how to apply for a new job, how to looking for a job, whatever. And 3 of the coaches really interested in my speech, and I gave a speech. I gave extra half an hour, and they end up with catch up with me a couple of days ago. Spent about two and a half hours actually just to ask my feedback. A former employee, now I'm current employer as well. What else I can help our city, especially some professional people from overseas, like Afghan, from Sri Lanka, from all those things. They are very high qualification. They've been here for 2 years. They have so much issue to find a job. Therefore, from my personal point of view, I feedback to all this coaching. I think her name is Margot Eaton, and also the other one, Charman Viz, and Mr. Stira as well, that I haven't got a chance to talk to her. But I promised them to give, any of my time to coach them to looking for a job in this country, because they don't know how to probably write resume. Secondly, not as important resume for me. The most important is impression count, how to attract the attention of the employer only. And after that, thank you for our director, future of our city, Mr. Sanjay Vasam, that had a bit of chance to tour Springvale for probably nearly 2 hours. And we work very closely, and we try to work hard for Springvale to revitalize Springvale for the near future. And also on the same day, I had a chance again to go to VMA, Victorian Multicultural, I made a mistake, actually, Vietnamese Museum, Australia. Had a chance to talk to a small business minister to emphasize again about Springvale revitalization. Don't forget about that. Don't try to put so much money on the wrong organization. And she promised me to come to see me as long as I give her a chance which day I want to see her, and also multicultural minister as well on that night. Hopefully we catch up soon. Probably I would like my CEO and son to come along to give her some idea about our future, our city, especially Springvale. On Sunday the 16th, I have attended another, what we call Dragon Boat Festival in city of Monash. They wanted me to become a guest speaker. It's just a great one, a big one. Amazing, all these elderly people, honestly. The elderly, they play orchestra excellent. I've been support them the last 2 or 3 years. It's just amazing. Our city should try to copy from them by let all the elderly to join music, especially orchestra is amazing. They are on their 70, 80, but they did a good job. I give them a bit idea how to live longer, over 100 years old. What is the special recipe? They're really happy with that. And also on Monday, the 17th of June, we have a meeting with Greg Scott, our president of Springvale Football Club and Netball Club, with also Councillor O'Reilly, with Peter. Spent a lot of good time in the morning, got a lot of pressure from us, and also James as well, and plus other committee members. That's a great discussion, honestly. Like I said, I really want Springvale Reserve to be part of the football club. The reason, because the history there. We don't want to leave the history. And now this history is going to be part of Springvale Revitalization Action Plan. It's going to be part of the tourist attraction for Springvale as well. We can take tourists around Springvale Activity Center to see all of this heritage, all of this football club. Some people from other part of the world have no idea about soccer, football club. The football, about dog racing, those sort of things. That's probably the best sport that we can attract a lot of tourists come to our city. And also on Tuesday, I had a meeting with Kids Safe CO. That's another thing that we try to work hard to raise awareness for our city, actually. My point is our city. That our resident, mainly diverse community, they have no idea about what Kids Safe all about. I keep telling my resident to Google to see what Kids Safe all about. The best services, they provide a lot of things free of charge as well. Therefore, that's the best one that we catch up very frequently on Thursday the 20th. I had a chance again to meet Positive Aging Advisory Committee. It's a great outcome. Thanks for our CEO and our council officer. This meeting, I'll probably Peter more part of maybe in charge of, I'm still confused who in charge of who I know, honestly. But it's a great meeting, honestly, exciting meeting. And mainly the lady, I'm the only man there, I'm minority. Therefore, I try to joke to them and said, I try to hide from all of these ladies. The reason they are really passionate, actually, and they said, why, how come no man? I said, man probably survive. Ladies survive 4 years longer than men, probably all are disappear already from now. Maybe the lady are still survive. That's a joke in that one. But it's a great one, honestly. Kate and all Mandy and all other from council officer, excellent. The main thing, Kate asked 3 questions. What do you like about Dandenong Council, Dandenong City of Dandenong? What do you don't like about? What do you want from our city? That's a good, great question. And everyone, gave a very good question from the committee member. And I don't mind to be part of it. I love to, and they try to juggling along to give me the right time for me. It means 1:30 in lunchtime instead of 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Therefore, I love to be that. And after that, I have a Zoom meeting with Mental Health Foundation Australia, because I'm a medical advisory board of Mental Health Foundation Australia. They have a lot of issue, honestly. The whole point I want this organization that I'm board member to be part of our city, to work hard for our city, because the diverse community, we don't understand what mental health all about. That's what I'm so passionate about. I've been in the board for the last couple of years. Now we try to raise awareness, we try to raise, to ask the money from the government, and also we try to do gala dinner, especially in my I'm a former school council of Springvale High and Springvale Hub and Springvale Rise, and also Springvale High. Because we have 45 nationality, the students have 45 nationality from different backgrounds, and have a lot of issue in their family. I used to take care of so many members of the family as well. Therefore, that's a good one, and I would like our council to be connected very closely to Mental Health Foundation of Australia. The whole point to help our residents, because this organization provide a lot of free services and so on, and we try to set a clinic in the school as well. And also on Refugee Week. Refugee Week is on the 22nd on the Sunday. I had a chance again to attend Refugee Week, celebrate at Saturday at the Springvale Community Hub with our mayor, with Councillor Dan, Councillor Tan, and so on. And the day before, actually, I attend launch of Sister Work with Mayor and with Julian Hill as well. It's a great one. I'm so excited about that because we can provide up to 50 jobs at least for our residents, for refugee or for migrants that came to Australia. That's a great one. That's a great manufacturer hub. And also on the morning, yesterday morning, I had another chance to attend what we call Refugee Weeks organized by Sri Lankan community. Mr. Vicky, he's a former, I think, Citizen of the Year and also Living Treasure. Yeah, he invited me to discuss about Refugee Week, how to work hard, how to advocate for refugee. And again, after that, I had to go straight to Dragon Boat Festival again, hosted by Jinhua Chinese Association, and as a guest speaker again. And after that, Refugee Week again, celebrate last night with our mayor as well, Wabagan Association Network. Thank you for that. And my first question is just would like to ask our director or any director that responsible for Springvale Revitalization Action Plan, can we organize a forum just to inform our committee leader, our business owner to understand our action plan being endorsed by our council on the 13th of May. At least they prepare for that. They're waiting for the answer. I just do it myself. It's very hard. But if we can bring everyone together on one afternoon or evening at the Springvale Supper Room, we can inform them now. Everything ready. Phase 1 to 5 years. Second phase, 5 to 10 years, after 10 years plan. Yeah. And the second question, if I ask all in one, probably easier. Safety forum, would you mind to organize again? Anyone can help to organize again? Because another question like A lot of people mentioned about that, about homeless, about begging, about drug addict, those sort of things. I come up every day, all this is issue, even though we work very hard to try to clean up the staircase, we try to have patrol as well, still some issue, but the police work very hard, Springvale Police, honestly. She worked very hard with us, she tried her best, but short of staff, a lot of police on sick leave as well. Therefore, please can you organise that too for me? Thank you so much.
Through you, Mayor, officers will be happy to look at forums to Springvale revitalisation and community safety. Will come back and report to council. Thank you.
Thanks, Ms Weatherall. That's all. Thank you. Councillor Trong?
I don't have any report.
Thank you. Councillor Dan?
Thank you very much, Mayor. And I'd just like to echo the sentiments of Councillor Tan and Councillor Lim and congratulate council officers for organising the Refugee Week event at Springvale Library on the weekend. That was a really well-run event and a fantastic celebration as well. And also for organising the many local community organisations that were present there too. And I commend them for all their work in improving our community. Just a few questions tonight. I know Councillor Tan already mentioned this, but safety has continued to be quite a prevalent issue and concern across my ward. I've spoken to residents, particularly around Kelvinside Road in Noble Park, and they've reported that there's a slow rise in break-ins and attempted break-ins that they've witnessed, and they feel that a lot of the feedback I'd received is that the lighting in the area has become quite poor around that strip of Kelvinside Road, with many of the light poles not actually operating fully in the evenings. I'm happy to send some photos with some specific ones too, but can I just please ask the relevant officer to look into this, see what can be fixed, and what council can do to better improve lighting around some parts of our residential areas too, please.
Thank you, Councillor Dan. We'll ask Mr Manivasa Gasavam to respond, please.
Thank you for your question. Yeah, if you could send us those exact details, we're happy to audit those lighting and see whether we need to add any more or not. We can happy to have a look at that.
Thank you very much. And another issue that was raised quite frequently is the increase in homelessness and rough sleeping, again, especially around the residential areas, and particularly also surrounding Ross Reserve as well. Residents have reported that rough sleepers aren't actually causing a disturbance, but they want to see that there's appropriate access to shelter available for those that are sleeping rough, particularly now that the winter months have arrived. So my question to the relevant officer is, what local services are there for those sleeping rough to access, and how can they find out about this information? And again, given that Greater Dandenong is one of the highest rates of homelessness in metropolitan Melbourne, does council have a plan to address this problem more head on? Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Dan. Ms Gillies, if you could respond, please.
Through you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Dan, for your question. Absolutely, it's something that we're putting significant ongoing efforts into. What I can say, and we're certainly happy to, there is information on our website, but we can certainly distribute that more widely. Dandenong Zero is a project whereby we aim to know every rough sleeper within our municipality, and what we ask is that if you do come across someone and it's safe to ask them if they need some help, let us know, and what we can do is we can check the Dandenong Zero listing, which is all about having zero rough sleepers that we don't know in our community, and we actually work really hard to link them in with one of the appropriate local providers. There's also Launch Housing, a number of local providers whose role it is to actually directly support rough sleepers in our community, and we work really closely with all of those agencies. So it's not going to be something that goes away. It's a continued effort, and similar to the community safety and perceptions of safety, it does take a joint community effort to help support those who need it. Certainly very happy to include more information in the minutes in terms of those agencies, and we'll continue to share that as part of Council News. The other thing is, in Council News we also publish a segment that talks to residents. Vic Poll are often involved in that, as well as Neighbourhood Watch, giving residents tips around safety and how to ensure that they and their homes and their families are kept as safe as possible. So we'll continue that also.
Thanks, Ms Gillies, and I'll just get Ms Weatherall to add something to that as well.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Dan. Look, this is an increasing and complex issue across Australia, not just at the City of Greater Dandenong, and officers are deeply concerned about it. In fact, our strategic advocacy team, Mr Jari and I have been working hard, and we've been talking about briefing the councillors with a series of briefings about homelessness and even the experience of homelessness and the types of people that become homeless and why they become homeless and what some of the options and solutions are at the City of Greater Dandenong. And we look to continue that series of briefings as well when the new council comes on board. So certainly we hear what you're saying and we are preparing to provide more information. And I think then, you know, once we've briefed the council, it could be that we look to provide more information to the community as well.
Thank you, Ms Weatherall. Councillor Dan?
Thank you very much for that response. And yeah, more information would be great as well, because I don't doubt that there's a lot of great services in the area, but a lot of the time people just don't know where to find them. And I'm pleased to see that the council is taking this issue seriously, and also just acknowledging the work of yourself, Ms Hajari, on attempting to solve this issue as well. And just one final thing as well. I've spoke to one constituent that just mentioned that the gates at the Noble Park All Abilities Playground aren't locking properly. I went down the other day just to have a quick look, and the lock is actually broken, so there's nothing to actually keep the gates shut there. And just wanting to note that school holidays are beginning this time next week too, so just wanted to raise this before the park gets busier as well. Thanks.
Thank you. Note that.
Thanks very much. Councillor Dan, anything further? Yeah, thanks. Councillor O'Reilly, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Received some correspondence from a resident in around Springvale Glendale Reserve. There's a few issues in Burden Street regarding an abandoned house, low street lighting, and so I'll put those through the channels, the regular channels at Council for investigation. But the question I was interested in to the relevant officer was, when we get reports of syringes in parks, does council then step up its cleaning efforts, or does it have hot spots for syringes that it patrols for, that cleans more regularly, etc.? So just that general question. Thank you, Mayor.
We'll ask Mr Manivasagasavam to respond. However, I can let you know that we didn't have that option on the SnapSend Solve app quite a few years ago now, because I raised the same issue two or so years ago, but we do have that option now on SnapSend Solve. But I will ask Mr Manivasagasavam to respond in more detail.
Through you, Mayor. Yes, definitely we go and immediately clean that one, and also we identify hotspots, and then we do have regular inspections of those areas, because we can identify if it is a regular dumping happening, that there's an issue. So we do that, and we have specialized staff trained in that area to pick up those syringes. So yeah, definitely thank you for letting us know. We'll have a look at that, but we'll definitely monitor that area for any further dumping as well.
And finally, Mayor, just congratulate your good self on your election to the Victorian Local Government Association Board. I'm sure you'll have a profound impact on the local government sector. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Councillor O'Reilly. I will definitely table in the minutes the events that I have been attending the last few weeks, and there's obviously been quite a few of them, but one of the ones that I'm deeply passionate about obviously is the Refugee Week, which we've just concluded, and we did have a great event on Saturday, so a big thank you to our organisers for doing such a great job. Would have been better to see a few more participants, so we'll work a little bit harder to get that message across moving forward. But what I would like to bring to everyone's attention is that we obviously chair the Mayoral Task Force Back Your Neighbour campaign, which is really trying to advocate federally to our refugees and asylum seekers. So I would really urge everybody here in the gallery, anyone that's watching at home, if they could please sign the Back Your Neighbour petition. Obviously, the more voices we have when we go to Parliament to advocate for our refugees and asylum seekers, it would be really, really helpful to have further numbers. The other thing I wanted to bring to Council's attention is this is an issue that comes up pretty much every single school holidays. I myself try and sign up my children to some of the Dandenong Council school holidays events, and it feels as though they are booked out pretty much instantly from the moment that we release them. It's a constant battle, and I know a lot of my residents have complained of the same issue. So what's the opportunity of us perhaps doubling up on some of these really popular programs? I understand budgeting and all of that, but clearly there's a lot of people that are being left behind, and I feel as though a lot of our families, as Councillor Milkovich mentioned earlier, are doing it tough. So these free or really low-cost events are quite important for our residents. So I was just wondering if the appropriate officer could respond in relation to that and how we could maybe move forward with increasing the amount of events that we hold. So to my boys watching tonight, I'm sorry you can't go to any of the events again these school holidays, but I will be taking you to Dandenong Market for the hot donuts, so that's a plus. So Ms Gillies, if you could respond, please.
Through you, Madam Mayor, and thank you for your question. Look, we'll certainly look into that. Obviously, we've just approved our budgets in terms of our programs offering, and there obviously are costs involved in such programs. But we've also got some very good connections in terms of other local program providers. So happy to look into it and provide some further information and perhaps look at the possibility of increasing those in future years.
That'd be great, thank you. Even the free ones that we could possibly do in the library, as we've already got the staffing and so on in there. So it'd be really good if we could look into that. Thank you so much. Ms Weatherall, councillor questions taken on notice requiring further action.
Yes, I'll supply those to you now. Thank you.
Thank you. They'll be tabled. Thank you very much. Item 7, urgent business. As there is no urgent business, item 8, close of business at 8:39 p.m. Thank you very much. Thanks to all of those in the gallery that have not fallen asleep. And please stay safe and stay warm. Thank you very much. Good night.